Wingless Dreamer presents Ghosts of the Christmas Past, 5 classic Christmas tales. Christmas is always an exciting time of the year. We all have our own Christmas traditions, whether it's eggnog or hot chocolate or singing carols or going to the park. Christmas movies and Christmas stories are pretty much a staple of the festive spirit. So this week we have a few classic Christmas themed works you can revisit. Let's look at them. First, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. The story of Ebenezer Scrooge, an elderly miser who is visited by the ghost of his former business partner and the spirits of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas yet to come, is told in A Christmas Carol. Scrooge is transformed into a more compassionate and kind man as a result of their visits. The story was written in 1843, a time when England was going through a lot of changes in all its sectors and was re-examining its established traditions. One such tradition is the Christmas carols. The Victorian era was a period of history when significant efforts were being made to establish or re-establish aspects of the quote-unquote English culture, and Christmas was one of them. In the book, Ebenezer Scrooge, an old, grumpy man, basically hates Christmas. However, his grumpy behavior is rewarded with a blast from the past. And it's not good. The ghost of his former business partner, Jacob Marley, visits him to warn him of the fate that awaits him if he continues down his path. He's going to end up wandering the earth, weighed down with chains of greed and selfishness. Marley offers him a way out of it to follow the spirits that will guide him. These spirits are the ghosts of the Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas yet to come, which leads Scrooge on a journey through his life in an It's a Wonderful Life-esque montage, making him realize the fault in his attitude. Dickens' personal preference towards Christmas and his keen mind towards the expression of social reality came together to create this quintessential Christmas masterpiece. Second, The Night Before Christmas by Clement Clarke Moore. This poem is a dream come true Christmas tale that is joyous and can instantly put you in the Christmas spirit. A Visit from St. Nicholas was written by Clement Clarke Moore, a famous American poet. It was first published in 1823 in the New York newspaper Sentinel with the title A Visit from St. Nicholas. Later it became popular with its first line, "It was the night before Christmas." The poem begins with the speaker telling us that the children in the house are asleep and that the speaker himself is about to wind down for the night. However, there is a crash at the window. The speaker goes to investigate and sees St. Nicholas in his sleigh with his reindeer going up to his chimney. He meets St. Nicholas when he comes down his chimney and watches him work, after which St. Nicholas leaves with a call of goodbye and Merry Christmas. The poem's vivid descriptions, sing-song rhyme scheme, and a hint of magical realism give it an innocent and joyful tone, making it a perfect Christmas Eve read for young kids. The significance it gives to the religious figure of St. Nicholas is also a prominent characteristic, along with the speaker's innocent enthusiasm upon seeing St. Nicholas visit the house. Third, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a children's book by Theodore Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss. It utilizes rhymed verse along with visuals by the writer himself. It centers on the grumpy, reclusive creature known as the Grinch, who on Christmas Eve tries to foil everyone's plans for the holiday season by robbing Christmas presents and decorations from the residences in the adjacent town of Whoville. The Grinch discovers quite unexpectedly that Christmas is about more than just gifts and money. The story is heartwarming and has become a Christmas staple. The Grinch's heart growing 3 sizes upon seeing the Christmas celebration is a lesson in the value of true connection and joy over material benefits like gifts. It sweeps the reader along and teaches them a lesson in the process. Fourth, The Gift of the Magi. O. Henry's short story, The Gift of the Magi, was first released in 1905. The narrative centers on a young married couple and how they overcame the difficulty of giving each other very inexpensive yet covert Christmas presents. It's a heartfelt tale with a moral precept of giving gifts. The story begins with a poor married couple. Della and James Dillingham Young, realizing that they have very little money to buy gifts for each other. To gain more money, they each sacrifice a treasured possession. Della selling her hair to a wig shop, and James selling his watch, which is a precious family heirloom. It turns out that they each get each other gifts that cannot be used anymore because James buys Della a gilded comb and Della buys James a chain for his watch. Both of these things aren't there anymore. However, they realize that their willingness to sacrifice their material possessions for each other is what is important. The story is a lesson in the real meaning and intention behind Christmas gifts, which is to show your love to your loved ones. And of course, a bit of social norms involved. Fifth, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Although not a story about Christmas, Little Women prominently features Christmas as the celebration of joy and togetherness that it is. The Marches are not a rich family, but when a family with starving, shivering children require their assistance, they offer it up. The second chapter of the story begins with the girls being excited for their Christmas morning. Despite their recent poverty, they've managed to scrounge up an acceptable Christmas breakfast. However, their mother, who they call Marmee, returns from a neighbor's house and informs them that the impoverished family is in need of food. The girls are not too happy at the prospect of giving away their food, but soon agree. However, their sense of joy and satisfaction, which they receive upon sharing their food, cannot trump their hunger and disappointment at having lost a nice Christmas breakfast. To their surprise, however, their rich elderly neighbor, Mr. Lawrence, sends a surprise dinner laden with delicious food to compensate for their breakfast. The story holds a pretty simple theme. If you are kind, you will receive kindness in return. It is a moral tale about the importance of sharing, of family, and of kindness. So, what story are you curling up with this Christmas? Let us know and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.